Good. And we will start recording right now. All right, so we have finished with the first course meal, which is your starter. And I'm sure you've had a taste of how this meeting would go. However, we're now going to the main course, and the main course is one that is going to involve almost everyone on the call today. Because we want to start strong as a club, we would like to get feedback from everyone in this meeting. And when I say everyone, I mean literally everyone in this meeting, on how if there's anything we could change or do better in this club, what would that one thing be? Now, one thing is a metaphor, not necessarily meaning that you should say just one thing. You could say a couple of things. However, it is your time to unmute and speak. Tell us things that we can improve on this year. Now, let me give a throwback to what we had planned on doing from when our tenure began last year. We planned on getting 10 points as a club. We also planned on things like winning at least one of the events that would be organized by Toastmasters, the speech contest at the area and even the division, and moving on even into the international Toastmasters speech contest. We also plan to be able to get as many members as possible, but we put a peg at 30 as 30. That means we plan on getting 10 new members. We also decided that we'll be checking on the other during the time, and we'll be able to pay our dues on time. We also plan that the ESCOs will attend the various area and division meetings that are mandatory, and even the ones that are maybe non-mandatory, so that as a club, we'll be able to get the required points. We also planned that we would kickstart our mentorship program so that anybody who wants to improve their leadership and communication skills would see someone to learn from. There's a popular quote that says, "It's on the shoulders of giants that I was able to see farther." And that's what we're basing our mentorship program on. We have done well in some of these areas, at least by our own estimate. We've been able to get 5 points. So far, we've gotten 4 new members. At least that is almost half of our goal. We've also been able to start our Each One Check One program, and our mentorship program is also budding. However, we think that there is so much more to do, and to enable us start strong, who else but you on the call to give us some feedback on things you think that we could do better. Unfortunately, we're having a lot of people drop off the call, and I'm hoping that it's not due to maybe network reasons, I guess. But we'll go through the folks on the call to ask what they think we could do better. And I would like to start from the bottom. Not by any means that the person is at the bottom, but at least he's the last person who his name appears here, and that is Toastmaster Edem. The question here to you is, if there's one thing you think we should improve as Pecten Toastmasters, what would that one thing be? Toastmaster Nsikak, over to you. Toastmaster Edem Nsikak, can you please unmute and tell us that one thing? Okay, so there's a rule called the 11-second rule. If you wait for 11 seconds and somebody's not able to respond, then we would need to assume that the person is either not hearing, can't hear you, or can't speak. We'll then move over to Toastmaster Ekuchi James. But before you start, I would like to just repeat what I said for the benefit of some of the people who have just joined the call. We see Toastmaster Ayola Olatunji on the call, and even Toastmaster Amara. We would like to get feedback from everyone on the call to know if there is one thing that we can improve on in our club, what would that thing be? If there's one thing we could improve or change in our club, what would that thing be? So I would ask Toastmaster Joy Ekuchi James to unmute and tell us that one thing.
All right. Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Toastmaster Uche. If there were one thing we would change about our club is beautiful, wonderful. I'd rather be here than any other club. I'm proud of Pecten Toastmasters. But as usual, everyone is open for improvement. There's always room for improvement. If there was one thing I think we could do better is people engagement. I think if we did people engagement better, we would have more people showing up to meetings, and then we would have more people participating, being concerned in our meetings, in our events, or so on and so forth. So I think everyone should play a part or a role in people engagement. Tell somebody about Pecten Toastmasters. In fact, invite someone for the meetings, because we usually put these invites days before. So once you see, don't leave it for the VPPR only or ESCOs or just a few members only. As a member of the club, it is also your responsibility to market the club, so to speak, to everyone else, and I'll have them come over, make them established, so to speak, in the club, so that the club will grow. So yes, that's what I think we could do better. Back to you, Toastmaster Uche.
Thank you so much. People engagement, and I've written that down with my blue pen. Okay, people engagement. If we're all able to engage, one person or the other would be able to get more people to join the meetings and even join the club. Thank you so much, Joy. I don't think we would have. I would have said it better. I'll then move over to Toastmaster Bridget to ask her if you have one thing that you want to change about the club or improve in Pecten Toastmasters Club, what would that one thing be? Remember, one thing is a metaphor. You can say 10 things. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. If there's one thing I want us to improve on, is a regional convention. I think Pecten Toastmasters are grown enough to want to see each other sometime, maybe one of quarterly, monthly, as the case may be, or every 6 monthly. I would like us to organize a convention, maybe as local as it sounds, maybe within the locality, for us to unwind. That's the one thing that I wish that we can do, or we can do better. Maybe it's been happening. Me as the new joiner, I don't know about it, but if it's been happening, I would like us to improve on it. If it's not been happening, I would like us to take a step and start something like that. It will improve the bonding. Thank you.
Thank you. Toastmaster Bridget sounds like a newscaster. It almost feels like maybe not a newscaster, maybe a football analyst or something. Who else feels like that? You can put in the chat box. I feel like this, you're natural. But thank you. You said if we have a convention, and I specifically, you said a face-to-face meeting. I think maybe that's what it is. But specifically during the face-to-face meeting, we should have the opportunity to unwind. And I tell you, we all miss face-to-face meetings. We all miss the opportunity to be able to shake hands and give hugs and things like that. We would think about how to put one together. Just like you said, have a frequency to it, so that within this year, we're able to have that time to bond. Thank God for technology, but you cannot take away the beauty and the essence of the humanity that we have, the contact and the fact that we're able to come together physically. Thank you, Toastmaster Bridget. Toastmaster Humphrey, today is your first day of joining the call, but then I'm sure you already have an impression from the meeting today. If there's one thing you think we can improve on in Pecten Toastmasters, what would it be? Toastmaster Humphrey.
All right, good evening, Toastmaster of the day. Permit me for whatever inappropriate nomenclature, because I got to know about Pecten just yesterday through a friend, and she sent me a link for me to just get myself acquainted with what this Toastmaster is all about. So I haven't been well grounded on what it takes, but I think from what I have observed in the past on AHA, I think I'm in the right space where one will have a rapid learning. And so your question, what would be that thing that would require improvement? Of course, life generally is all about continuous improvement. There is nothing that is static. So I would want us to look inwards. If we have plans, yearly or quarterly plans, let's look at some KPIs, which we will use to monitor those plans to see if we are on track by way of appraisals, based on the frequency we must have given ourselves that we need to be looking at those plans, and to see possible areas where we are doing well and those areas we are doing well needs to be sustained. And the areas we are not doing well or we have not done well in the past, we need to introduce some improvement plans to make them better. So let me let me just pause here because basically what I thought I could do was to thank you people for bringing me into this space. But not just that, you have also given me opportunity to air my very unpleasant voice here. Thank you very kindly. Back to you, Toastmasters.
All right, that was a nice way to end it. He said his voice was unpleasant. I think it's really far from that. If you ask me, your voice wasn't unpleasant. I felt like we were watching a guest on Channels TV. Sorry to use Channels TV, but that's how I felt. It felt like you already had what you wanted to say written down, well prepared, and thank you for dishing them out. You said you wanted us to, if we could have KPIs to monitor our plans and check how we're doing and things like that. Thank you so much for bringing that up. We have KPIs that we use to track our performance, and we show them intermittently. But I think that one of the things I've taken from from what you've said is to make sure that this is visible to everybody, and everybody has it even in their hearts. They know how we're chasing these goals and how close we are to them. All right. A lot of people have dropped off the call. I would want to guess that this has to be network. It has to be network. Okay. I will then move over to Toastmaster Dominic, as he tells us that one thing that he thinks that Pecten Toastmasters Club would do or should improve on. Toastmaster Dominic, over to you.
Well, thank you, Toastmaster Oche. The one thing I would want us to improve on is what Toastmaster James already pointed out, which if I'm going to be reiterating, is more of like reminder, that constant reminder. Here you post the notification much earlier. However, I think that day can also be reposted, like that constant reminder, and keeping tabs of people such that the people that joined on a particular day, you are sure to make sure that these people are in the known and they would also want to join the next day. So I think in that way, people could be motivated to just keep along here.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Dominic. That was really short and sharp, straight to the point. He kept it short, sharp, and simple. You have said that a constant reminder, we find ways to engage people, creative ways, so that, and we do it constantly, so it's in people's faces, and that will make them to want to attend meetings, for example. All right, thank you so much. I'll then go over to some of the juggernauts who are here, and I'll start with Toastmaster Amarachi. If there's one thing that you want to improve in Toastmasters, Pecten Toastmasters Club, what would that thing be? Remember, one thing is a metaphor. They could be 10. Over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Uche. They need to be committed. Commitment. Commitment is very, very important. We all know that commitment is that state or quality of the dedication you put to a cause. I am so happy to be in Toastmasters 100%. Seriously. This is a club I love so, so much. I need nobody to talk to me so many times to know what to do here. But where we lack commitment, honestly, it discourages everyone. Very large group. I bet you we are so many of us in that group. We know in football, when there is this tournament going on, you see at times some countries go to play home, some people play away. You know what happens when it's a country that is hosting that football, and you see the people are out just to come watch that football. And what happens to those footballers? The people themselves in that pitch playing that match, they turn around and see their people en masse watching them. That alone triggers them to do more. So what I really want all of us, even myself, is for us to be committed to Pecten. I bet you we have everything we need. We have everything we need. All we need is just to be more committed. Pecten will blow. Thank you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Marachi. That sounded like a motivational speech. We all need to be committed. We all need to be committed. And I hope Toastmaster Marachi has been able to motivate you enough. Remember, you're doing this for yourself, okay? We have one more person that we'd like to hear from, and that's none other than Toastmaster Ayola, as he tells us that one thing that we can improve on in Pecten Toastmasters.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, what I think we can improve upon, in my opinion, is the fact that for some of us who are new in this environment, is there a roadmap? Are there things one can read up, to better proficiency to the point where I can speak like Toastmaster Tobore or Toastmaster Uche, So it just be worthwhile, to bring people up to speed on what one needs to be able to be proficient. I know it's a hands-on thing, listening and seeing how it is done, repeatedly is like helps one to get up to scratch, but could also be worthwhile having a roadmap for the things one can read up and all that. Yeah, that's it from me.
Okay, thank you. Good to see your face this year, Toastmaster Ayola. And definitely, we have things that you can read up, and I'm very sure we have all given Toastmaster Tobore talking points. She's going to finish us when she's done. She has written all these things down. She's going to answer all the questions. She's going to bombard us, and I'm so happy she's here. But Toastmaster Ayola, definitely we have roadmap. The first thing you would need to do would be to be able to register, and then you have access to a plethora of resources that can help you in almost every kind of situation. Let me not say every situation, but many have been thought out very well, and they have been written in fantastic manner. Take for example how to give feedback. If you're a manager, for example, and you're finding it difficult giving feedback to your colleagues or your people who report to you, Toastmasters has been able to structure it in such a way that you'll be able to know how to give this feedback in a very structured manner, the Toastmasters way, and then you can layer it on whatever wherever you're working and whatever role that it is that you have. But the first thing, like I said, would be for you to register. When you register, you would be able to choose a pathway. There are about 11 of them, if not more. that you can choose, and you'll be offered various virtual online materials. It's almost like a school, and there's so much you can read. But I think that the other thing would be for you to have someone, a shoulder that you can climb on, that would point you in the right direction, so that you don't have this plethora of materials and you don't even know how to go through them. But my takeaway really is to say what is to show a clear roadmap. You know, this is beyond the online version, because if you allow people, they could just swim in that ocean and maybe just drown. But to have a clear roadmap for new joiners and sort of handhold them onto where they can now run and maybe even fly. Thank you so much for that feedback, and we'll take that up and work it. Okay, so we have come to the end of this segment or session, but I would like to say one thing that I think that I would like to see improve in Pecten Toastmasters, and that would be setting and reaching personal goals. I would ask you, if in the Toastmasters journey of leadership and communication and more really, have you set personal goals, or do you just come to the meeting to listen to others and possibly hear someone like Toastmaster Tobore speak glowingly and beautifully? Do you have goals? You have things that you want to meet? For example, if you told yourself that in Toastmasters, after understanding how it works, that I would like to achieve level 1 by XYZ time, you said it, and it's smart. I would like to achieve level 1 by so time, and you begin to ask, questions, reach out to your mentor and say, how do I get to level 1? And your mentor tells you how to do it, and you begin working towards it and achieve that level at the time that you are supposed to achieve it. It would be great, because it will help you in your development as a Toastmaster, as a communication and leadership expert. So what I would like us to improve on would be for us to take a step back and set personal goals for ourselves in the Toastmasters journey. And if you find it hard to set your goals or your personal goals in leadership and communication in Toastmasters or Pecten Toastmasters, you can reach out to me or any of the other ESCOs. They will guide you and show you how to set your own personal goals and even help you achieve them. That would be my charge and what I think that we can improve on here in Pecten Toastmasters. Now we have come to let me just take a breather. We have come to the third part of our meeting. We have finished the starter version part of this, where we had the table topics, and I'm sure a lot of us enjoyed ourselves. We have done the main course, where we had everyone on the call tell us what they thought we could improve on, and a lot of wisdom coming out from various people on the call: people engagement, face-to-face meetings, KPIs to monitor our plans, constant reminders, commitment, having roadmaps and materials to improve proficiencies, and even setting personal goals. That's the main course of today's meal and of today's session, and that will help us start strong. We will then go over to the dessert of today's meeting, and the dessert would be coming from none other than the general evaluator herself. So Toastmasters and guests, I urge you to please unmute as we welcome to the virtual lectern, Toastmaster Tobore Olumoye, as she takes us through the evaluation, the rest of the meeting, before she hands over to me. Toastmaster Tobore, over to you.
Thank you very kindly, Mr. Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Uche. It's such a splendiferous feeling looking at your beautiful face. I'm saying my full chest. Your face is beautiful. That's right. Thank you for holding forth. Thank you for keeping the flag flying. Toastmasters and any guests on the call, this is the evaluation segment, and I will be leading a team of evaluators to give their reports. A team had been introduced at the beginning of the meeting. Unfortunately, technology is acting up today, and I can see most of the role players have dropped off the call and are probably struggling to get back in. However, I see the Toastmaster of the day is on the call, and he double and almost triple-hearted, playing several roles. So I'm going to call on, the first person I ought to have called would have been the table topics evaluator. Unfortunately, I cannot see TM Joy on this call. Toastmaster Joy, if you are using a different name, can you confirm? Is Toastmaster Joy on the call, or is she using a different name? Mr. Tiamodi, can you
No,
confirm?
she just sent me a message saying she was bumped off and she's trying
Oh,
to
she's
join. Yes.
okay. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to take the feedback from the speakers. If Toastmasters Joy can get back on the call, that would be nice. We'll call her to give her report. But while we wait for her to get back on the call, it is my pleasure to call back the young, handsome, beautiful gentleman who played the role of the timer for today's meeting. He is also the Toastmaster of the day. Mr. Tiamodi, confirm you did some timing report and you have some report to give to us as the emergency timekeeper for today. It's over to
Okay.
you
Thank
on
you
the
so
spot
much.
timer.
Thank you so much. We had Toastmaster Nseka come and I handed over to him. Unfortunately, he's also not here on the call. But during the time that I was the timekeeper, the first person who I timed was at Toastmaster Mara. So she kept within time. Her speech was within 1 minute, and that was at a green. The second person I can't remember exactly, but the people I timed were within the time frame. So that would be the report, unless Toastmaster Nseka comes back into the call. Thank you. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the day. Thank you for almost quadruple hatting. You played so many roles today. Kudos to you. I suspect Toastmaster Gladys is not on the call as well.
Yes, she isn't.
Mr.
She had
Tiamodi,
complained about
confirm.
network
Is
too.
Toastmaster Gladys here?
No, she isn't.
Is Toastmaster Afoke on the call?
He is
Okay.
also
Is
not
there
on the
anybody else on the call? Toastmaster Nseka is also not on the call. Okay, that is fine. What this means is I will go right on, and luckily the meeting is being recorded. So for posterity's sake, I will go right on and deliver a feedback of what I actually evaluated on. I'll start by first evaluating the general meeting and I'll intersperse it with reports on the various role players as I go along. First of all, very well done, Toastmasters, and very well done, Pecten Toastmasters Club. You kept the time. You started at 4:15 p.m. You started right on time. But even more importantly, you had key role players on the call as at the time the meeting started. I'll give this feedback even though most of the recipients are not on the call. I'm hoping that they will get the evaluation. Toastmaster Val played the role of the Sergeant at Arms, and he was phenomenal. He played the role brilliantly. The screen was shared with the club's vision, and I think it's a vision statement for the club. I was hoping to see the Toastmasters promise, but it wasn't shown, but the club vision was shown, and that was brilliantly done. One feedback for Toastmaster Valdo, I didn't play the role of the art counter, but because the art counter hadn't been introduced at the time, Toastmaster Val used crutch words, crutch sounds 3 times. I counted. The next person to take up the gauntlet was Toastmaster Uche. Toastmaster Uche, you performed absolutely brilliantly today. Indeed, you carried the club on your shoulders and you ran 9 yards, almost 9 miles. Toastmaster Uche, you played the role of a president. You called the meeting to order before you handed over to the SAA. You also played the role of Toastmaster of the day. I loved your introduction. I loved your welcome address. It was warm. It was also inspirational, and there was a beautiful charge call to action. I loved it. Toastmaster Uche, I would encourage you, however, to watch those crutch sounds, and I recorded them. You are particularly fond of air, and you also love to use, I recorded quite a number of them. I would also encourage you, Toastmaster Uche, even though you found out later and you almost, what our people call expo, we wanted to use expo, you temporarily forgot to lead the applause. Leading the applause rests squarely on the shoulders of whomever has the lectern at that time. Unfortunately for you, as Toastmaster of the day, that responsibility sits squarely on your shoulders. When you lead the applause, people remember. In the virtual space, whilst emoticons and emojis work to some extent, you would also like to remember that devices vary. There are some devices that do not see those emojis. If you spotlight the screen, people may not get to see those thumbs ups and those applauses. For the person on the lectern, it just feels so nice and warm when, if you can mute TM Eden, please. It just feels nice and warm when you can hear the applause. The applause just makes you feel like people are there and they're connecting with you. I felt the use of pictorial displays for role plays today was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. I also loved the artsy, catchy nature of those pictures. They were cartoony, but not too cartoony. Indeed, it showed that Pecten is a class act. I give this feedback to Toastmaster Gladys as the grammarian. I love the use of the pictorial display as props for her introduction of her role. However, this feedback is for Toastmaster Gladys. Toastmaster Gladys, when you have been introduced, please do not introduce yourself again. For example, when the TMOD says, please put your hands together for Toastmaster Tobori as she comes to the lectern, I'll use the word very loosely. It dishonors that introduction. When you come back to say, my name is Toastmaster Tobori. The only exemption to this is when you want to clarify maybe the pronunciation of your name. Even that is also querying the introducer. As much as possible, just launch right into it and play your role without introducing yourself. That's the feedback I have for the grammarian. For the ad counter, Toastmaster Afoke began, and then the TMOD stepped in again. The same feedback. The TMOD, you're absolutely brilliant today in stepping up to the plate and just ensuring that the meeting moved brilliantly and smoothly. You did this for the timekeeper, you did this for the same thing for the ad counter as well. I'll move on to the topics master. Toastmaster Osayaman, is she on the call? No, she isn't. Toastmaster, there was another name you used for her, Peace, right? Please confirm. Is she Toastmaster Peace? Okay. The Toastmaster Peace, I'll just give you some of your favorite crush sounds and filler words. Toastmaster Peace loves to use the word so. I counted quite a number of so's in her presentation. She also likes and just for her information. The table topics evaluator, Toastmaster Joy, unfortunately, she was unable to play her role, but I loved her introduction and she explained her role very well. There was a good correlation between her role and the role of Toastmaster Peace. By the way, Toastmaster Peace, I loved your topics. I loved how you were able to use yourself as a prop for the table topics. That was masterfully done, and it shows quite a lot of confidence because you left yourself vulnerable to attack and you were not scared. Well done, Madam Topics Master and Topics Evaluator. On to the crux of the matter, the feedback session. Again, I cannot stop appreciating and applauding the Toastmaster of the day. Toastmaster Uche, I loved how you were able to organize the session. Even when people kept dropping off the call, you were able to ensure that the meeting segued very smoothly into that session, and you continued as though nothing had happened. That's the mark of a brilliant Toastmaster and an amazing master of ceremonies. I took note of all of the feedback, and I will use this opportunity to add mine because you didn't call me for whatever reason, but I'm going to call myself to give one. If I were to add one feedback in addition to the amazing feedback, all of the fabulous points that had been raised. I will say to Pecten, grow the new with the old. Here's the thing, Pecten has quite a plethora of amazing old Toastmasters, old and older Toastmasters. Drag them here, screaming and wailing and unrepentant as they are, drag them. On social media, I would say drag them into those meetings, because they need to understand that they need to grow with the new. The new have a lot to learn from the old, but the old have even more to learn from the new. It is when the two grow together that you have a rich and buoyant club. This feedback is for all Toastmasters Club, but because I'm sitting in Pecten today, I'll encourage you, bring those older Toastmasters. They don't even have to be Toastmasters only of your club. If you have ever heard any Toastmasters name, bring them. I see myself as an ancient Toastmaster. The way you drag me, you're fond of dragging me, Toastmaster Uche. Drag them all here as well. But I'll wrap up this meeting before I hand over to Toastmaster Ekuche, who is back on the call. Before I hand over to her, I would love to wrap up my evaluation by saying to Pecten, I am particularly fond of Pecten Toastmasters Club for one reason. This is a club that has class. Pecten Toastmasters is a class act. When you sign on new Toastmasters, they are classy. Your old Toastmasters are classy. Your meetings are classy. I love your variation. I like your variety. I love how you are vivacious. There's a feeling of warmth. It is such a lovely place to be. Even when you have only 3 people on the call, you just feel like you are in a family. I love, love, love the spirit of camaraderie that is in the Pecten Toastmasters, and may that spirit continue to grow even in the new year. Finally, I want to say you have done very well in terms of timing. Everything was done on point when it came to timing. With these numerous points of mine, I hope I have been able to convince you that you had a particularly fantastic meeting today, and it's a pleasure. I hand over the lectern to you, Toastmaster of the day.
I will stop until other people join me. Yes, I am leading the round of applause. I'm taking my feedback to lemons and I'm turning them into lemonade. Come on, join me. Thank you. Thank you so much, General Evaluator, for the numerous points that you have so eloquently presented here in Pecten Toastmasters. I would maybe have a crotch recorder somewhere around because I haven't been able to jump over or leap over that. I would take more particular look and note of those crutches and make sure I get better and drop them. Thank you for all of, and thank you really for always taking time to join Pecten Toastmasters meeting. There are 1,000 things you could have been doing right now, but you obliged even at short notice to join our meeting. Thank you so much. Yeah, I would flip it just a little bit. We never ever have an evaluation after the general evaluator is done. But we have Toastmaster Joy on the call right now, and she was the table topics evaluator. How about we give her some time to give us the beautiful evaluations from the table topics that we had today. Toastmaster Joy, over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Uche, and thanks to everyone for being so gracious and kind to let me do my evaluation now. I truly apologize. This Nigeria that yes, I want to Japan. So when I go abroad, Wi-Fi will not be the problem. All right, going straight to the evaluations. Today's table topic segment was truly enjoyable. I always trust Toastmaster Peace to bring something fresh and new to the table. Straight, I will just be really quick about it so that we can run through. The first person was Toastmaster Bridget. She asked Toastmaster Bridget what she thought about her new haircuts. Toastmaster Peace haircuts was the star of today's show. Toastmaster Bridget started off very positive. She said she loved her haircut. She said it made her look like an African queen. I like how she also pulled out a message from what she said, and said that gone are the days where people want to look like the foreigners. We're more and more embracing our African roots. I like her enthusiasm about the speech. What I thought she would have done better was to use up her time. She finished quite early, so she did not use the allocated time that was given to her. The timer was not on board as at then, so I timed it myself. Next time, please use the allocated time. You have 2 minutes. Please do what you need to do. But all in all, it was good. Toastmaster Amara spoke about meal combinations that people find weird, that she has that people find weird. She did not use her video, but she explained to us why. Maybe it would have been better if she did. She talked about being picky. So she didn't really answer the question directly. She gave us another angle. She talked about what she loved to eat, not the meal combination she found weird. That was good. It was good to know that she loved salad, because I got that from her speech. I like how she started off with a happy tone. Even if we could not see her face, we could sense from her voice that she was happy, and we could sense her enthusiasm about it. Maybe next time she should have spoken more towards, or lean more towards the topic that was, or the question that was asked. But I enjoyed to know a few new things about Toastmaster Amara today. Toastmaster Uche was the third person that spoke about Toastmaster Peace hairstyle. He was asked if he liked her hairstyle, why, if his answer was yes, and if his answer was no, why not? In Toastmaster Uche's fashion, he started strong. He's a Toastmaster through and through. He started off, I feel like he has a Toastmaster's handbook always in hand, ready to just go with the flow. He always fulfills all the rules. He started off strong, as our theme is, starting strong. He talked about why he loved her hairstyle, and then there was a call to action. It's been a while I heard a table topic speech that sounds a lot like a manual speech or like a table topics contest or something. He told us about external validation being not as important as we think it is. People really don't care about what you look like or how you present yourself. What really matters is how you rub off on them, how you make them feel. So I took that from today's speech. He also enumerated his points. It felt like I was in a lecture hall. I loved how he gave the speech. It was nostalgic to when I hear a contest speech. Thank you so much for that, Toastmaster Uche. I think you could have ended better, but all in all, I didn't even pick out any flaws in your speech. You did pretty well. Last but not the least, our able general evaluator crowned it all with her speech. She was asked if she was going to drop something huge. I don't know if any of us knows this guy, Mr. Sabinus. He wears a blue shirt and this short tie. He says, I'm expecting something huge next week. He's always expecting something huge. So she told us that her something huge this year would be 2 fresh books for teens and kids. I liked how she started. She said, I am tired of old people. I wanted to see where she was going with that. She's tired and weary of old people not accepting her messages. Right now, she's done with that, and she's going to the fresh and malleable minds of kids and teens. And I absolutely support that. I think that children and kids are a much better target audience for things like this. They are more malleable and they are willing to soak up, just like sponges, soak up everything that we present to them. I liked how she used her speech as a marketing strategy. Wink, wink, businesswoman in action. I like how she also marketed her books, and there was a lot of suspense. It was interesting. I don't ever want Toastmaster Tobere's speeches to end for some reason. I feel like my ringtone should be a speech from Toastmaster Tobere every time my phone rings. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for also educating us on why financial independence is very important. All in all, it was an amazing one. And I think Toastmaster Tobere should be the salesman of the year if there was such an award in Toastmasters. Thank you. And back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
The saleswoman of the year, Tobere Oluwaye, and many other people who spoke during that time. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Joy, for this beautiful. I told you, I'm sure a lot of us have enjoyed your evaluation of the table topics and would have picked a thing or two. Thank you for laying all of these things on the table. It was really enjoyable. Do you see what I did there? I'm using your own words against you. All right. I'll just say one more thing
Nice
about the
one.
GE. I'll just say one more thing about the general evaluator. What you heard from her is the tip of the iceberg. If you ever sit in her session when she's talking about financial planning, you would exhibit at least 8,000 emotions. But I'll just maybe call 3 or 4 of them. The first, you would laugh, you would cry, you would probably scream, you will be silent, you will stand. So you would just express there just so is a mishmash of emotions. So I urge you, I can only imagine how her book for kids will look like. The children, if you, their minds will be really wrapped around, they'll be your own financial planners eventually. That's how I feel about it. Your son will tell you, hey dad, is this in the budget? Hey mom, is that in the budget? So I urge you to reach out to her if you're interested in the book or if you want to get more information on how to plan your finance. I bet you won't regret it. All right, so we're now segueing into the end of the meeting. And I haven't heard the word of the day from anybody, and I will just use it just for using its sake. I'll try to use it on Toastmaster piece, even though she is not here. I think that her haircut signifies that she's a stalwart of style. I'm the only person that has used the word of the day today, and I think that you can give me a round of applause, at your own convenience, no problem. All right, so let's end this meeting with, okay, most people didn't get it. Maybe that's a feedback too. We need to, as much as possible, talk about it so that it's there in the faces of people. A few announcements, a few housekeeping I would like to do. First of all, yesterday was a service of songs of our dear friend's husband. Toastmaster Ngozi Oguli lost her husband, and we attended the service of songs yesterday at Corpus Christi. It was such a sober time. He was such a young man, and he vanished in his prime. The lesson for me at that time was the fact that life is fickle and it can come anytime. Another thing I learned yesterday was the fact that people who are, if you have to make the best of the present, the best of now, because you never know what tomorrow holds. And you also need to take it easy on yourself, because if you leave this earth, other people would continue. So you can reach out to her to support her. The burial will be this weekend, somewhere in Onisha, in Anambra State. If you can reach out to her, financially, try to support her in whatever ways you can. I also like to just put this on the table that the international speech contest is coming up soon. Remember, Toastmasters, that we plan to win at least one of these contests, and there is no more prestigious speech contest to be won than the international speech contest. I dare you, Toastmaster Joy, to go beyond our general evaluator, Toastmaster Tubori, in how far she's gone in her international speech contest and even the tall tales. I would be giving more information about this contest when we get some clarity. We must win something this time, beyond the area, beyond the division, beyond the district. Let's get there. I just imagine Toastmaster Joy with her beautiful hair there in the convention, and she's beautifully telling us, and we're enjoying those Nigerian flavored speeches,
Good joy,
so
good joy, good joy.
good joy. That's just joy. Toastmaster Amara, what stops you? With the kind of motivation you give us today, nothing stops you from being there on this gauntlet I've thrown to you. Nothing stops you from catching it and going to the international speech contest and winning laurels for Pecten Toastmasters. Put that as one of your goals and start strong this year. All right, so those will be the few
Noted,
announcements.
Toastmaster. Okay.
Okay, this will be the few announcements I'd like to make. Unfortunately, our VPE, who is a fulcrum of the pivot of meetings, is not here today to supplement some of these announcements that I've made. We will be having our next meeting to be announced. In our next meeting, we'll also show you our dashboard and how the KPIs, how we have fed, and then we would also take time to follow through with our new members to make sure that they are growing and they're able to achieve some of those levels. And we've taken this feedback and we turn them into action for Toastmasters, Pecten Toastmasters, as it were. Remember how we started? We said we should start strong, and it's like a relay race. Your fastest runners are at the beginning and at the end of the relay race. So Toastmasters and guests, I urge you, what are those goals that you want to achieve in communication and leadership in 2022? Now is the time to start it. And what better way to start than to pay your dues, get involved, choose a pathway, make sure you look for a mentor, not look for a mentor, who would assign you a mentor, but even if where there's some inertia, find someone, drag the person, and that person will show you how to improve in Toastmasters. Toastmaster Tobore is also available. You can pull her. I can assure you she will give you time and also help you to eventually grow and become something huge. At this time, I want to ask if there are any comments from people on the call, from any guests, new members or even old members, any final comments so that we can then end the meeting. Any comments? 11-second rule.
Okay, so I'd just like to say that I've typed in the chat box, challenge accepted. The challenge that you said about going ahead to the international speech contest. And thank you to Tamara for that ginger. I'll take it up.
All right, Toastmaster Joy. In case you don't know, Toastmaster Joy is the reigning champion for. Wait, what was the word again? For the.
You want to hype me and you don't know where you're hyping. Humorous.
She won the humorous speech contest at the division. Can you beat that? She went to the division where there were many people and she won square, fair and square. Congratulations, Toastmaster Joy. Once again, just in case you don't know, she's a reigning champion and nothing stops you from being like her. All right. If there are no further comments, please look into the group. If you have not been added, I will add you in a bit. And you'll get more information on how we run this year. Our next meeting will be advertised also on the group. Thank you everyone for joining today's meeting. Now is the time for you to reach out to your friend who's on the call and say hello to them. The meeting has officially ended. Adios.
Adios.
Thank you, Toastmaster Uche.
Thank you.
Stop your record, because we want to enter
Okay, sorry. Let me, so that they will not catch you.
Please, just to confirm, the word stalwart, word of the day, does it